Hello, I'm Charles Musgrove with the Bean Team and host of Business Matters Talk Show. Welcome back. We have another exciting show. We're going to bring you some great information today. And just as a reminder, check us out on Apple Podcasts. That's where all of our shows are posted. We're also on YouTube, so you get to see a recording of the show, the video of the show. We do post those on our website too, beanteam.com. You can see the link to the Apple Podcast shows, so check that out. And if you go to YouTube, leave us some comments there. So get some feedback on future shows, or you can leave comments about the show that you're watching. So check it out. And today we've got a special guest. Today we actually have General Manager, the man that runs the show here at Real Talk Radio, Jon Jopling. So John, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
This is a special show, number one, because you're here.
Thank you.
And number two, we are going to have, the show's a little bit different today. We're still going to bring some information, some great knowledge about businesses. So this is kind of like a top 10 list. This is for those that are starting a new business or people that have a business going. Maybe they need to retrofit some of the things that they did when they started their business. So we're going to go through kind of the basics, kind of a 101 on how to start a business, what you need to do to get started, and even some of the things that you'll do once you get the business started on how to make sure you run it right so that you stay compliant with the IRS laws, that you stay compliant with your insurance, and just kind of the basics. So this is stuff that you may already know. It may be a good reminder of what you should do, but really bring some kind of bullet points and some numbers to how to do things right, get it going right. So you're going to be here to ask those questions that I may
Business
be forgetting.
101.
Business 101. You've done this. You've gone through this process yourself. So this will be a good time that you and I just have a good conversation about how to do things the right way, how to get it set up right, and how to proceed with business.
And honestly, when I did this for the first time, I wish I had something like this to refer to.
Good.
You know, I kind of had to sort of figured it out on my own.
John, you wouldn't believe the number of people that call me or come into the office, and these are the things that they want to go through. They have an idea. They're a business person. They have a special skill set. They want to get things going.
What's step one?
Yeah. So what do they do to get set up? Because they're in the business to do to create widgets or to do a special service. They're not opening an accounting business. They're not opening a law firm. So they don't. These are things that innocently they just don't know. And quite honestly, they may not need to know, but they do need to go to people that give them the right answers.
Find someone who does know.
So that's what we're going to do today. So I think it's going to be a great show. It's should be very informative and something that people can go back and listen to in the future. So this is the pre-show, just in case I didn't make that clear. This is kind of the show before we do the show that goes on.
Inside baseball.
The inside baseball. This is the before the show that you're going to hear on 93.3. So we're doing this recording that goes on Real Talk 93.3 out of Tallahassee, Florida. Check us out there. Plus, we got all those other venues that the show's recorded on. So you heard it here before the show that people hear on the radio. So, John, with that being said, play us some roll-in music, and we'll get it started.
All right.
Welcome to the Business Matters Talk Show with Charles Musgrove. On Business Matters, we discuss the issues that matter to your business. Find more episodes on Apple Podcast, YouTube, and beanteam.com. And now here's your host, Charles Musgrove.
Hello, and welcome back. I am your host, Charles Musgrove with the Bean Team with Business Matters. Thank you for joining us for another episode. I think today's another special episode. We're going to bring you some great knowledge. You know, I think all of our shows are great, John. Today we have in studio Jon Jopling.
Hello.
He is joining us, our special guest. And guess what? He is going to bring us some conversation. We're going to talk about the starter kit for new businesses. Maybe you're a business that's already been started and you need to listen to the top 10 list, and maybe you need to retrofit some of the things in your business. So, John, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
For those that don't know out there in radio land, John is the general manager. He's the guy that runs this radio station, 93.3 out of Tallahassee, Florida. So Jon is a special guest today, and he's done this business startup before, so he's got some personal knowledge that I think will be.
I've made my mistakes.
Hey, we've all made mistakes, and that's what we learn from. So if we can learn from other people's mistakes, that's where it's at.
That's absolutely right.
So thank you for stepping in today. I think it's going to be fun.
I appreciate you asking me to do this.
So, top 10 list.
Indeed.
All right. So if you are a new business, you got a great idea.
Hopefully.
You are a skilled person, so you're providing some special service.
Right.
And you know how to do that, but you didn't go into business. Your special skill is not accounting. You're not a lawyer. You didn't go to school to be that. So it's one of those things that you have to do in order to stay compliant.
That's right.
Make sure you don't get in trouble with the IRS or legally. So people come in to our office. They call me, hey, I've got this idea. I want to open my business, or I've been in business. Help me. Am I doing it right? Did you have the same questions?
I did. Actually, I could start with my little backstory.
Yeah.
But my experience going through this was almost exactly that. I sought out a lawyer to help me, what am I supposed to do when I start this out? I had an idea. I had something I wanted to accomplish, but what's step one? What do you do? Where do you begin? And I actually went to a lawyer's office and asked him, how do I start this out? I want to start my LLC. I want to build this business out. And that is exactly what I did.
Yep.
I had an entertainment idea. I was a musician for a long time. It's my old trade. I was performing with a band, booking gigs all over the place, making some good money, and it was all cash. And I decided that it's time to, take some credit card payments. And how do I go through that? How do I make this legitimate? And
Yeah.
I had tons of questions.
Well, you just brought up one thing I'm going to add to the list.
Sure.
Credit card.
Credit
payments.
cards.
All right, so that is the deal right there. That's what drives America. Thank goodness.
That's right.
The people they want to work for themselves. They want to make their own money. They want to be in control of their destiny, if you will.
Oh yeah.
So, the American way, I love it. So, here's the obvious: business name. So, if your entertainment business, and you were running as a sole proprietorship, or you're just pay me Jon Jopling. So that's how a lot of people start out. They just take checks to themselves. Right. So that creates, you basically have meshed together your business and your personal when you do that. Correct. So any attorney, any accountant is going to say, don't do that. So we'll go into that part in just a minute. But first, usually you're going to have a business name.
Right. Well, you have to.
Right. So that that sounds kind of basic and one of those duh things, but yeah, let's get a business name. And instead of operating as a sole proprietorship, you're going to want to select an entity type. You throw out one of those entity types, an LLC.
Well, let's go back to business name for a second. It's not always as easy as just that. Let me come up with a business name. It's more of a positioning statement for people to really understand what your business does. So if you're not being clear in what your business name is, it's going to make it even harder for you out the get-go to be successful.
That's exactly right. That's a great point. And also that business name has weight because it carries throughout the setup part too, because you want to think about
longevity too.
That's right. Longevity, and does it match the business purpose? And the other thing that people didn't think about 10 years ago, maybe not even 5, but is the URL available?
Right. Is your domain available?
Right. So you want to get a name that is transferable, or that you can relate to a domain name that you're going to use for your website.
Yeah. Creativity, originality, availability, those are all crucial elements to something as simple as what's the name of my business.
That's right. Because what you're going to do when you go to pick that name is you're going to do a couple of things at least. Set aside the entity type. So your business name, is that name available? When I say available, so you've got 2 places that you want to capture or buy that name. One is with the Department of State.
Right.
So that's with the Florida SunBiz, what most people know. So you go to SunBiz and you register the business to do business in the state of Florida.
Correct.
So Florida, when you do that in Florida, you have to do a name availability. So you plug your name in. Is that name available? Right. So they want to make sure that you don't have 3 John Smiths or what have you. You want to make sure that, every separate business has their own distinct name. That's one of the benefits of registering with the state of Florida to do business in the state of Florida.
That's right.
So that's registration number one. Number two would be, like we said, your domain. So how are you going to check that? You're going to go to GoDaddy typically to do that.
Yeah.
Do you have another search place that you use for name availability?
No, not really. I didn't have any specific method to it, to be honest with you. I kind of just, you do your own homework, do your own research. If you got an idea in your head, look it up.
Right.
See if somebody's already got it.
That's right.
You know, it's probably going to be a letdown the first time. Let's be honest, there's a lot of businesses out there, and there's potentially somebody already doing what you're doing, but set yourself apart by calling it something else.
Right. When you do I think people, if they haven't done this already, they'll be surprised when they go to GoDaddy to search for the availability of that name. But typically you want a short name.
Yes.
As few letters as possible.
Memorable.
Right. There aren't very many of those remaining unless you're making up names or words.
Yeah.
So creativity, as you said, in your name carries, is it available with the state of Florida SunBiz? Can you get a URL or a domain name that you're going to use for your website? And that also, remember, that goes in your email. So your domain is going to be visible.
Yeah. And I know we've got a lot to talk about, but even deeper into your business name and what you need to look out for, social media is crucial these days to the success of your business. And I've seen it happen where your social media page that you want to create for Joe Smith Roofing is already taken. So you cannot have that easy search availability there either. So you have to make sure that it fits the bill for all of these categories. And it's not as easy as it sounds.
Very good point. The obtaining that domain 10 years ago or 15 years ago is a lot easier than it is today.
I heard a joke said that kids 20 years from now will have the most difficult decision ever because all usernames will be taken.
That's true. That's where creativity comes back.
That's right. That's right.
So good point, John. Not only on your domain, but also your social media platforms. Is it available on Facebook, Twitter, all those places? All right, so now we have, let's say we've got our name selected.
Yeah, you've got the idea, you've got the name.
We have the name, we have the entity. One thing we skipped over was entity type.
Right.
So we have another whole entire show,
There's a whole show about
on
that.
entity selection. So that's not a simple process. That's something that takes a little bit of thought and a little bit of planning with either your attorney or your tax accountant. But the entity type, to make that simple, you need to be an entity. Don't be a sole proprietorship. The entity, if you're an LLC, an S corp, a corporation, then what that provides you is legal liability protection.
Right.
So you have now what you've done when you created that entity or that corporation or LLC, you have separated the business activity from you personally.
Correct.
So that provides a shield in case the entity sued or somebody does something inappropriate in the entity, it doesn't necessarily come over and affect you individually.
Yeah, just protecting yourself.
So you're protecting yourself. So there's a lot of reasons for that, but we'll leave it kind of on the high level there that you need to have the correct entity type.
If they want to learn more, what show was that?
If they want to learn more, we have that. It's called the entity type selection on YouTube and on podcasts. So we have it out there in our archives. All right, so we have entity type. We've selected the business name. We've registered with SunBiz. Now, one point on the SunBiz, it is very simple. You can do that all online, so you don't need to.
Yes, it's very simple. It's a lot easier than it should be, probably.
It is. And this is not to take business away from attorneys or accountants, but the setup of the business on SunBiz is so simple that most anybody can do that. So you have to know things like your business address, your business name, the owners. You have to do a registered agent. So the registered agent is typically you'd want either you're going to name yourself for that or you're going to name an attorney for that. Your accountant is not a good choice for that. And really what the registered agent is it's a business or a person that can receive official documents.
Correct.
So if you're registered in another state, then technically you need somebody in another state or another service that can receive notifications or documents.
Right.
All right, so now we have SunBiz, check, entity type, check, business name, check. So once you have those, then you're good to go to the IRS. Again, you can do that online.
Yes, you can.
You can register the name and your business online. You need to know the entity type.
Right.
LLC, S Corp, partnership, 1065.
Which you're going to have to do if you want a bank account.
Absolutely. So all of these steps are chronological.
I found that out the hard way.
Yes.
You know, well, not the hard way, but I did, you know, okay, I called my bank up. I want to create my business account for my new business. And they said, what's your tax ID number? Oh, I don't have one yet. So by that process, I learned that you got to have that EIN number before you go to the bank.
Good point. And you brought out the two words there, tax ID and EIN, employee identification number. So those are the numbers that you get from the IRS. They're like your they're like your Social Security number. They're the Social Security number for the business. That's what the business will be known as, identified with banking institutions, with the State Department of Revenue, and so forth. So you will need that before you get the bank account set up. But that is setting up that bank account is somewhere you've got to do that after you get registered with the IRS.
Correct.
After SunBiz. Yep. So you have to go SunBiz first, and then the IRS. So another registration that you do after the IRS is Department of Revenue. So the Florida Department of Revenue, they collect taxes also, like the IRS. So they collect things like unemployment taxes. So if you're an employer and you're going to have employees, including yourself, then you're going to pay payroll taxes. One of the payroll taxes is unemployment tax. So you will pay to the Department of Revenue Florida unemployment taxes, and that is paid on the first $7,000 or $8,000 of payroll that you pay to each person.
Well, let me ask you this: does that apply to, say, they don't have employees except for themselves?
Right.
I don't have employees. It's my own business. I work for myself. I'm the only employee. Do I still have to do this?
That's a very good question, and the answer is if you use the keyword employee. If you're an employee, then the answer is yes. If you are set up as an LLC, taxed as an S corporation, you, the owner, can be an employee.
However, owner can be an employee
if it's an S corporation.
Okay.
If you're an LLC taxed as a partnership, a 1065, you can't be an employee. You can't receive payroll.
Right.
You have to be paid as distributions or guaranteed payments,
Right.
which self-employment tax is applicable to that.
It is.
Right, self-employment tax, not unemployment.
Okay.
So that there is a difference, and that goes back to the entity type selection will dictate how your payroll is done for the owner.
Right.
You can still, even if you're an LLC taxed as a partnership, you have employees, they're treated just the same as employees in any other business. So not only do you register with the Department of Revenue to pay unemployment taxes, but that's also where you pay sales tax.
Right.
So if you have sales tax, or if you're a landlord leasing, then you're going to pay sales tax on the rental tax. So now we have IRS Department of Revenue. We purchased our domain, so now we're in that zone where we have our domain. So now we can set up our email, we can set up our website, we can make sure that we have our social media account set up correctly. And after we have the bank account,
you've got a business.
We got a business. We need to order checks.
Right.
Because we're going to assume if we're a business,
we have a bank account,
some money. We're going to
be
writing checks. That's right. I guess that was one thing I left out. We do need to make a
some
deposit.
money.
We're going to have to earn money to deposit, or we're going to have to pull money out of our pocket of another investment and deposit to get that bank going. So that is our bank account. We have checks ordered. Okay, now credit card. We got two. You mentioned credit cards when we started the show. So there's two credit card discussions. One is credit cards are just a way of life today. People people buy stuff, people live off the credit cards. Well, that's no different in businesses. Businesses really operate the same way, where the business owners, the employees, they use credit cards in their in the everyday process of their business. So face the facts. You're going to have to get a credit card that you use for business. It's best if you use a credit card exclusively for business, so you don't mix
and match personal.
Don't mix up personal inside of that credit card. It's just used for business.
Right.
Because what happens is that'll facilitate the accounting for that. We're going to get to some accounting also. So if your so what you've done is you've isolated. The reason you do a bank account that's in the business name and not through your personal is so you can separate business from personal.
Correct.
It's all over in a silo where all of our transactions are business. So same thing for the credit card. The credit card basically is another bank account. You've used Bank of America credit card as a bank account. You're going to have to pay that off next month.
That's right.
But it's a bank account, really.
Correct.
So if you think of that credit card as a bank account, then treat it like that. Okay. So now we have our credit card. So those are credit cards we use to make purchases. So you mentioned one thing that you can also do is when you're in business, a lot of businesses, retail especially, they need to accept payment of using credit cards. So your customers are going to pay using credit cards. So you need to set up some type of merchant process so that you can accept credit cards. And that's gotten real easy today, too.
Very easy. Square. And all these are very, very much available.
Absolutely. So even
the mom and pop hot dog stand can take credit cards.
That's right. With their phone.
It's pretty amazing, yeah.
They got this little gadget they stick in their iPhone and they swipe the card and they're done.
Pretty awesome.
So even, believe it or not, even service companies like Bean Team, we accept credit card payments. We accept payment through ACH. So there's still electronic payment methods that most every business type uses, and credit card is one of them. So you'll need to get set up so that you can function that way as well. All right, and we cannot go without talking about accounting, right?
Of course.
So we talked about taxes when we got started. That helps dictate the type of entity that we select that has tax ramifications. And a lot of your decision on the entity selection is based on the type of taxes that you know how you're going to pay your taxes.
This is another lesson I learned. Try to do it yourself. I tried to teach myself QuickBooks. I tried to teach myself all this other stuff, which I did rather successfully. When it came down to it, find somebody and pay somebody who's an expert. That way, there's no questions. There's nothing left on the table that, did I do that right? Did I file my taxes right? Did I pay that correctly? Is that going to come back to haunt me? You want to have somebody take care of that for you. Don't be ashamed of it either. I'm that guy. I'm the guy that wants to do everything myself. I could do that. I can learn how to do that. But when it came to this, I said, nope. I'm going to find a guy, and they know what they're doing, and they're going to guide me through this so that I don't have to worry about that at all. And that's what you do, right?
That's what we do. We help businesses do that stuff that they don't like to do. They're not in business to do accounting, to do taxes. That's what Bean Team does. So we either do it or we guide people through how do you do your accounting. We can do that for you. We can show you how to do it the right way.
Right.
It's better to do it right the first time rather than try to fix it or try to pay penalties or things like that, because payroll tax penalties can be very stiff. The IRS they've got a lot of leverage. They can cause a lot of pain to you.
Yeah.
Sales tax is another. You see the Department of Revenue, if you don't pay them, they're going to come after you with a vengeance, because a lot of the money that you collect as an employer that's called payroll taxes, it's trust fund money. It's money that you're collecting from the employee. You're a trustee to pay it to the taxing authority, either the Department of Revenue or the IRS.
Right.
For instance, federal withholding. That's all employee money that you as an employer collect. If you don't pay that or remit that to the IRS timely,
they're going to want it.
They're going to come get you.
They're going to want it.
When you keep employees' money or customers' money that really belongs to the IRS or the Department of Revenue, they will come after you with a gun in the holster and handcuffs. I mean, that makes them angry.
Sure. And they live for that, so don't test them.
Yeah, and they do. We've all seen the photos. They do like to publicize that, because that's part of the deterrent is if you do this wrong, if you collect sales tax from customers and you don't remit that to the Department of Revenue, we're going to come get it.
That's right.
And we're not going to be in a happy mood when we come get it.
No, they might be happy to come get it. It gives them something to do.
That's true. Maybe they like
that. Don't make them happy.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
That's true. All right, so we have gone through. Good point on consult an expert to help you make sure you do it right the first time, because a redo or correction of errors is never, you can't do it as fast, you can't do it as efficient, and you darn sure can't do it as cost effective.
That's right.
So spend a little money, consult the right people to start with. So this is I'm going to throw out one thing here that's kind of basic, but it is so important. People forget to do this. And it's a fraud prevention method. I know this sounds silly. It sounds like an accounting thing, but reconcile your bank statements.
Right.
Reconcile your credit card statements, especially when you get people involved in your business that's helping you. If you're not using someone like Bean Team, it's going to be extra important to make sure that
looking out for you.
Yeah, that you get that your trusted employee that is doing your books, that's taking care of the bank information, the reconciliation, that has control of the checks.
Right.
Make sure you, as the business owner, the person that can sign the checks, that you're looking at that bank activity on a regular basis, because most of the frauds are done by the simple method of
little piece.
People get a hold of those checks and they fraudulently write checks out to themselves. Mm-hmm. They go down to Sears. Sears isn't around anymore, but they use credit cards to buy personal stuff. Yes. The accountant's doing the books themselves. The owner's not looking over it. And guess what? They embezzle hundreds of thousands of dollars, that trusted employee.
And this happens.
So do the simple stuff. Look at the bank activity. If the bank statement still comes in the mail, get it unopened. Make sure that you recognize all the transactions inside of that. So that's just something simple that you can do that I encourage every business owner to make sure that they're looking at their credit card activity and the bank activity. One other thing that we left out, we want to make sure we include, that we've had a show on this as well, is insurance. So every business needs to consider insurance. You've got many types of insurance: workers' comp, general liability, professional liability, health insurance, dental insurance. Some of those are required, some of those are a luxury and a benefit. So make sure that you, again, consult with your
ask somebody.
Ask somebody.
Never ever hesitate to ask for help.
That's right, and get
help is a good word. Say, I need help.
Yeah, people want to help people, especially those that ask for help.
Sure.
So, don't act like you know everything about everything. Get help. You're the expert at running your business. Do that, claim that, and get help in those other areas.
And that applies to everything that we talked about, every single one of these steps. If you're unsure of where to start, ask somebody.
Totally.
There's going to be somebody out there ready and willing to help you and guide you along the way, and it's only going to make you more successful.
Totally agree. John, this has been a great 10-item list. Actually, we had 13 or 14.
Maybe more.
I'm going to flash this list on our YouTube, so maybe they get a picture of that. Go to our YouTube channel and you'll get this list. Check it out. Go to beanteam.com if you want to get a recording of that. YouTube. It's been a great show. Thank you so much, John.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me on.
Good stuff we went over today. Check us out, beanteam.com. We hope that you have a blessed week, a great day. Keep us in mind. Tune in next week, 11:30, 93.3. I'm Charles Musgrove.
Real Talk, 93.3.
Real Talk, 93.3. I'm Charles Musgrove, your host. Bean Team with Business Matters. Peace and love.
The Business Matters Talk Show with Charles Musgrove is sponsored by the Bean Team. For all your business accounting and tax preparation needs, visit beanteam.com or call 893-7710. You can listen to more episodes of Business Matters on Apple Podcast, YouTube, or visit beanteam.com.